And one of the things is looking at some of the new features in visual, perhaps thinking about an upgrade. And part of that is the new features in ShopFloor Mobile. So I'll be covering just an overview of ShopFloor Mobile and some of the new features. And as Robin and Rich mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in and we'll try to answer them during the presentation. So what you're looking at right here is the homepage after logging in to ShopFloor Mobile. As you can see, my user that's logged in has rights to all the different areas of ShopFloor Mobile available today. The newest one that was released in 908 Service Pack 2 is purchasing, which we'll get into at the end. I do want to let you know that right now there's different ways to look at this. There's the kind of the grid view or the list view and then the grid view. And that's available in all the different views that I show you today. These pages are also responsive, so if I were to minimize this, you'll notice the menu up top goes away and we get the pancake or hamburger menu, whatever, whatever you like to call it better. So I'm going to go back to full screen and we'll start here in scheduling. The scheduling view can be looked at in a few different ways. Right now I'm looking at it by shop view. Under preferences, I could look at this by shop resource group or by operation types. Right now I'm looking at it by shop view. So I'm just seeing the machines or resources, could be a person, machine, outside service, etc., that I have rights to see in that view and for that site. Of course, I could filter this out by searching, but I'm looking at all the resources that are in that view right now. And really quickly, I can see, that we have jobs that are overdue. Pretty much in every resource here, I have jobs that are overdue or scheduled to be overdue. Even though I have material to work on or jobs that I can work on because of that check mark there, I can tell that in milling, inspection, grind, and engineering, nobody's working on those right now. So out in the shop floor, I hope it's a break situation, but nobody's working on these jobs right now because there's plenty of operations they can work on, but nobody's on them because that little icon is not colored in, meaning that nobody's clocked into that resource right now in real time. Up here, I can tell that at the cutoff saw in drilling, both Ron and Tom are logged in here because you can see that little icon there. So this is a nice view for the administrators or maybe the shop floor supervisors or foremen to look at and see, hey, what's going on my shop floor from a high level picture. These columns up here can be modified by the person viewing them based on their login. And some new features that we're added in SP2, 908 SP2, with the ability to customize or to personalize the screen to say what fields can you see and in what order. So previously you could come in here and say, hey, I don't want to see these 3 fields, but you couldn't come in here and say, you know what, I want to see the resource field first and drag that up to the top and hit OK. And now you can see that resource field first. So just the ability to move the fields around where you want to see them has been added into the system. I'm going to actually click on the cutoff saw. And what this is going to drill us down to, is an online dispatch list. So this is real time, up to date, and based on your processes could be tied to the visual schedule. It could be sorted or filtered by start date from the schedule or by want date or alphanumerically. And there's under preferences several ways to sort these based on how you want to prioritize your work at that resource on the shop floor. So in this case, we can tell that job 02067 is the job that we should be doing first, and somebody's clocked into that right now. All right. So this is the first job, second job, third job, fourth job I should work on. And really quickly, you'll notice that there's a little 1 here. For those that have used visual for years, you probably know that in the scheduling tool, you can give a rank or a priority to the jobs, and the scheduling global scheduler, the concurrent scheduler, will use that to schedule that first before something else based on its rank from 1 to 100. Well, in ShopFloor Mobile and the new versions of visual, you can also have a view-only type or an information-only type rank as well. So this is telling me that, hey, we need to expedite this job. It's the first job that we really need to do. So on the work order in visual manufacturing window on the header, you can change that priority, or you can come in here and use this if you have rights to this and click on 1, 2, or 3 based on your security. That shows me that as a supervisor I should drag that job up to the top of the list and hit submit. And now whoever's on the shop floor in real time looking at like an $80 Android tablet instead of a $3,000 scanner like it used to be with, BTS. Now you can have that at every single workstation because the cost of those tablets have come down. And you can see that's the first job I should work on. So I might want to clock into that job right now. There's multiple ways to use this screen, depending on your processes and how you want to use it. In this case, I might want to clock into the job by highlighting it here and clicking Start Run. And it'll automatically put me on that job with one button click. So I just clocked into that job with one single button click. So if I had a tablet out there, touch that job, touch Start Run. I'm assigned to that tablet as Allison Peterman, as you can see here. I'm Allison Peterman today, and I just clocked in as Allison Peterman. Now, if that tablet was being shared by multiple users in the shop floor, you could actually highlight that job, hit Start Run, and they have to scan their badge if you're using like a Bluetooth scanner or a scanner tied to a tablet with a USB, and scan it instead of having it, specified for a certain employee, right? And you can also see a lot of details here about these jobs. So if you look down at this job 3000, and I didn't submit that, so it didn't keep the save, but you can see that this job is on time. We don't have all the material, but we have enough to start the job. Somebody's clocked into it right now. There's documents tied to it. So that could be visual aids, it could be specification sheets, it could be a drawing on there. And you can see some dates when this is due and available quantity. You can see the previous resource it came from. Cutoffs is typically in my demo database the first operation, so there's no previous resources. And the next resource is where does it have to go when I'm done with it? So a lot more details than you could see in the past. I'm going to click on this job and click on Documents. And you're going to see that I have a movie tied to that operation on that work order. So that movie could be a visual aid. In this case, I have it as a I Love Lucy video clip. I'm not sure if you can see that coming over the WebEx, but it's a good one for manufacturing because usually when you're busy, you end up having a production line and whip gets to be too much. But in your case, you probably can't eat all your whip like they are to keep up. But just something to add some humor for today's presentation.
We can see the video.
All right, great. So if I hit show all here, you can see all the other documents or electronic files attached to the work order. So these might be attached to the work order header. In this case, these were the documents tied to that specific operation. You can also see some of the new features added recently, I believe in SP1 or 908, is the ability to reference an existing document in your document management library in Visual or add a new document on the fly. All right. So it gives you that ability. I'm going to come back to that in a second because we get a lot of questions from people first implementing ShopFloor Mobile on where those documents come from. And the pictures. So the pictures, you can also see, hey, the picture that's tied to the work order header. In this case, all my pictures tied to the part, the operation and the leg are the same exact thing. But you could have different pictures for your work order header, the picture tied to the work order, the part that's on the work order, the part that's on the leg itself, or the operation. So just gives you that ability to see those pictures on the fly. You can also look at specifications. Who else has worked on this job? How long they've worked on that job? Any materials. So if I were to click on this one right here and click on material, I can see that material list and click here to see just the short materials. These all happen to be short. I can see why over here. In the new versions, you can also see images of those materials, so you don't have to drill down into the visual database. You can click on these and look at the picture and make sure that, hey, it's the right part and what that part looks like when I'm going to pick it. And you can actually issue in return, if you have rights, right from here as well. And look at the POs coming in or the supplying sub-assembly work orders and where those materials are. So just again, based on your processes, what do you want your folks to have rights to and be able to view is used in these drill downs up here. Now, real quickly, because we always get this question, those documents, where do they come from? So here I am in the manufacturing window in visual. If I were to click on the cutoff saw here, I can see up top that I have that Lucy movie tied to this operation card. Well, how did I tie it there? Well, I just took into my documents that I wanted to tie, and I'll say I want to tie this JPEG here. I dragged and dropped it over. There's some new features in 908 for document management, which we can talk about if you have questions. And then I just dragged and dropped it over. I could have done the same thing to any card on here, the header, the materials, the operations, or the part master, etc. And that is what changed this. So if I go into documents right now, I can see that document here. So that's the documents. The pictures are just using the picture functionality on those same cards, the part master, etc. So just an FYI on how you get those details there. So there's, again, a lot of new features in here, a lot of other functionality in the online dispatch list. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in. I'm going to move on to labor. So this is a different way to collect labor. If you've used Wedge Barcode or BTS or even VTA in the past, it will look pretty familiar, where you can clock in and clock out for the day. You have breaks, which could be auto set up, so you can have automatically generated breaks, or you can manually clock in and out of meals, for example. Clock in and out of indirects for like cleaning or doing some, miscellaneous work, like maybe some 5S or something like that. And then you have start, run, stop, job, which if you click on these, again, you can scan your badge. If this tablet, in this case, is assigned to Allison, you could scan your badge if you want to, scan the work order traveler, and get onto those jobs. So you still have the ability to scan into a transaction using the labor option, or you can use the touchscreen, touch the job that you want to go on, hit start run, and you have the functionality both ways. Even in this setup, if you hit start run, you can still look at documents, pictures, specs, so you still have that ability to look at those. Some of the newer features added is being able to look at your labor by work order. What this is set up to do is so you don't have to have the paper-based traveler anymore. You can see the whole routing sequence. In this case, I'm looking at a specific work order. I can see that the first operation is the cutoff saw, break, drill. I can click on any of these and drill down to documents, pictures. Again, you can start and stop jobs right from this view as well, and see material lists that you need to pick. And of course, you can edit what you want to see on this screen. So just a paper-based way, a paperless-based way to see your traveler without having to print that out, and still see drawings and documents and pictures associated with that. Now, I'm looking at one base ID here, but I might want to look at it by more details, by part or something of that nature, by clicking on Show More there. One other new feature added recently is the ability to look at who's clocked in right now. So in Wedge Barcode or BTS, you were never able to say, tell me everybody that's clocked in right now and what are they doing, right? So I could see if somebody was clocked in and not on a job, if they're off-site, if they're clocked in to a job. And you also have color-coded icons here that can be set up to say, are they on-site, are they working? And what is their efficiency if you want to turn that on? So if we were to go into preferences real quickly, you can see, as I mentioned here on the online dispatch, this is where you can say, how do you want to sort those in the screen I showed before? And under shop view, you can also see, do I want to see that by shop view or by group or, that kind of thing. I'm going to click on labor just to show you that you can set up different, color codes based on how you want to see, if you want to see that by the efficiency. So if they're working at an efficiency rate below where you might want somebody to work, they can quickly see a visual aid of what they're, or the supervisor can see that of, what you might want to go look at, managed by exception type thing. I'm going to quickly go through material because I'm looking at the clock right now, so I'll spend 5 more minutes on this demo. But there's a couple things here that are important to notice. Most of the transaction types that relate, or all the transaction types that relate to moving inventory between locations and issuing to a work order, receiving from a work order, returning from a work order. Those kind of things are all available here, just like you used to have in BTS, but now in a paperless way or mobile way from any device. So if you click on, for example, issue to work order, you can either scan or search for the work order. In this case, it's issue material. You can put an issue reason code if you have that on there. That's more likely used for returns, right? You can also use that for issues. It'll fill in the warehouse and location if they're defaulted. Otherwise, you can choose it. And you can put a description of the transaction here. You can also look at pictures, which you could never do, for example, in BTS. And of course, if you're a company that requires lot trace information, you can see that here as well. So these are some of the transactions that you can use. And I'm going to move on in this case to quickly talking about scanning. Somebody asked questions, can you scan now? So the new scan mode has been changed, and there's certain preferences in the material area of the preferences to determine how this works. Do you want to clear the screen after each scan because you have a small tablet or a small device that you're scanning on, or not? So that's all up here in preferences. So here I could scan what type of transaction I want to do. And in this case, I'm just going to click on it. But instead of having to use your mouse or a touch screen or scan that kind of thing, you can continue to use the traveler or the pick ticket format and scan what you're issuing right here in one scan. So it allows you to scan with a Bluetooth scanner or a USB connected scanner, or even an RF scanner that has a USB module on it. So there's a lot of different types of scanning tools that you could use to scan in using this functionality. Last thing I'll touch on is purchasing. So this is brand new. And under receiving entry, this is where you can receive POs, for example. Now I can come in here from the receiving dock and use touchscreen, click on a PO or click OK there. And here are the lines on here. And just about everything that you can do, or most of the things that you'd want to do from the receiving dock that you can do in the receiving entry window in Visual, you can do right from here. And again, you can choose what fields that you need to see when you do that. If you look up at the top here, you can see that you can look at the pictures, the documents tied to that PO or PO line. You can look at details about the vendor. You can look at demand supply links. So if this is a PO purchased to a job, you can look at that, for example. Trace information, delivery schedule. So all the details that you would need based on the requirements that you have for receiving in Visual, but doing it in a mobile touchscreen based way. I'm going to look at the next three real quickly and then turn it back to Rich. So this is the receipt return entry. So I could either bring this up by PO or bring it up by receiver. You don't have to click that OK button at the bottom. It's just an option. And then I can receive or do a return from here. Again, looking at all the details that you would need to do that return, right? One click away. And last but not least, the ability to look at PO lines that are due. So here are all the PO lines that I'm expecting to have come in. Now I can look at these based on a range of dates. So what's supposed to come in today and tomorrow. I just want to look at outside service items that are supposed to come back or not. I want to look at this by vendor, for example. So I could just type that in or use the tool, and I can see I'm only expecting one PO from Boston Selling Group. And I can actually do the receiving right from here. Look at the documents, look at the vendor, the details about that PO. But if I hit receiving entry, it'll bring me back right to that receiving entry screen with that PO in it. And then I can just do that receiving transaction. Last but not least, you also have the PO lines received. So if I want to look at, hey, what did I receive today? Or maybe you have to do some other viewing of the data that for the POs, the lines that you received today, you can go back and look at those. So I hope that helped give an idea of some of the features in ShopFloor Mobile. And I'm sure, Rich, there might be some things that I glossed over that you might want to touch on, but I'll turn it back.